In previous class, we were discussing data pre-processing, okay, and we covered the data integration, and we completed it also. After this, we have how to deal the redundancy in data integration. So redundant data occur often in integration of multiple databases. So one object identification and drivable data. Drivable data means when one attribute can be derived from the other attribute. So instead of keeping the first one or the other attribute, one attribute we can delete from the data the analysis. And second, if we are able to know the relationship between two attributes. So if in advance we are not having any such idea of the relationship, then to know the relationship between two attributes, we have one kind of analysis that is called X-square chi test. And other analysis, we have correlation analysis, covariance analysis. So careful integration of data from multiple sources may help reduce, avoid redundancies and inconsistencies, and improve mining speed and quality. So redundancy is an important issue in data integration. Okay, so we were here. We have to discuss this test X square, chi square. It is also known as chi. Basically, it is name of a Chinese person. So in their language, the pronunciation is chi. So some people used to say chai and chi, any you can use, but it is X square test. So for nominal attribute, we have one kind of test. For numerical attribute, we have other kind of test. So redundancy is an important issue in data integration. For example, attribute annual revenue may be redundant if it can be derived from another attribute or set of attributes. Some redundancies can be detected by correlation analysis. A correlation analysis measures how strongly one attribute implies the other attribute based on the available data. So for nominal data, we have X square, chi or chi square test. And for numeric attribute, we can use correlation coefficient and covariance. Both assess how one attribute values vary from those of another. So this is the test. And first I read this one, then we will discuss. X square correlation test for nominal data. For nominal attribute or nominal data, we use this test. For nominal data, a correlation relationship between two attributes A and B can be discovered by X square chi or chi square test. Let A and B are two attributes and it has C distinct values and B has R distinct values, and A attributes, they have been represented here, the values by A1, A2 up to AC. Similarly, the values for B attribute are B1, B2 up to BR. The data tuples described by A and B can be shown as a contingency table. Contingency table structure we have already discussed, so we will see here also, with the C values of A making up columns and R values of B making up the rows. Meaning is that if we take C value on row, one set of values on row and one another set of values on column. So this combination will give you one arrangement in a matrix form. So let AIBJ denote the joint event that attribute A takes on AI and attribute B takes on value Bj. That is where A equal to AI, B equal to Bj. Each and every possible AI Bj joint event has its own cell or slot in the table. The x square value, also known as Pearson x square statistic, and it is computed by this formula. So x square, so this is sigma. So we read it when C value 1 to C, J 1 to R. So for one value of C, J value varies from 1 to R. Similarly, for second value of C, that means I equal to 2, then J will vary up to 1 to R. So here you see this OIJ and EIJ, they are basically two values of the probabilities. Okay, so OIJ is the observed frequency, the actual count, and count of the joint event AIBJ, and EIJ is the expected frequency of AIBJ, which can be computed by this formula. EIJ, count A at AI, count B at BJ, divided by N total. So if we take one simplified example, then we will come back to this example. This is the example that we have to discuss. But before discussing this example, I take one more simple example. Suppose we throw a die. Okay. So die has 6 faces. So let die is thrown 204 times. One is throwing die 204 times. Observer frequency of each outcome. Meaning is, one, we record the occurrence of each phase individually when we throw die 204 times. Second, we calculate theoretically. That means we imagine that there is a die and it has been thrown this many number of times. So theoretically, each phase has equal probability of its appearance. Okay. So one probability is the observed probability, and other probability we can say expected, what we expect and what we observe in reality. Okay. So two kinds of terms we are using here. So observer frequency of each outcome and expected frequency of each outcome. So expected, how we compute? There are 6 phases and each phase has equal probability of its occurrence. Okay, so when we throw, then each phase will have the probability 1 by 6. Okay, and die is thrown 204 times. Then the possible number of counts will be 204 multiplied by this probability 34. That means if 204 times we throw a die, then we expect that each time, or the faces of die appearing as 1, 2, 3 up to 6. So because there is a probability of equal occurrence of to appear of each phase. So what we expect that theoretically each phase should have should appear 34 times. So theoretically we assume that when we throw a die 204 times, then each phase should have its appearance 34 times. But in practice, it is not necessary. So practice, we have different values. okay, different occurrence. So in practice, we observed, we did this experiment and we observed. So this is the observed. So here you see number of time, number, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces, and we observed that 22 times 1 is appearing, and 24 times 2 is appearing, and 38 times 3, and 30 times 4, and 46 times phase 5, and 44 times 6, phase 6. This is what we observed through experiment or based on the observation. And this is what we expect, we assume it should be like that, so and so. So expected probable frequency or expected frequency and observed frequency. And we compute this, this formula. So it is the difference between these two values, observed and expected. 34 minus 24, 34, 22, 34 and square. Similarly, second value 34. Here we have in each case 34. So the difference we have in each part, and we take the square of the difference. And here we have 34 square. Right? Now, now we have this example. This I was expected to read it, but I take this one first. Correlation analysis of nominal attributes x square. Suppose that a group of 1500 people were surveyed. 1500 people were surveyed. The gender of each person was noted. Each person was polled as to whether his or her preferred type of reading material was fiction or non-fiction. Actually, a survey was conducted among 1500 people just to know whether they prefer or what kind of reading habits they have, whether they like to read fiction, that is called in Hindi upanyas or novel, or non-fiction literature. Okay. So that experiment conducted. Thus we have two attributes, gender and preferred reading. The observed frequency or count of each possible joint event is summarized in the contingency table shown in 3.1, where the numbers in parentheses are expected frequencies. The expected frequencies are calculated based on the data distribution of both attributes. Okay, using equation this. So using the equation, we can verify the expected frequency of for each cell. Okay, so here the count of male and count of fiction and divided by total number of person. Okay, and this is the expected frequency 90, and so on. Notice that in any row, the sum of the expected frequency must equal to the observed frequency for that row. The sum of the expected frequencies in any column must also equal the total observed frequency for that column. Okay, so this is the experiment. You see, this contingency table has been prepared. On here we write male, female, okay, and here we have the values, fiction, non-fiction. Here gender attribute values, and here reading, preferred reading attribute values. Okay, and here in out of this bracket we have the observed frequency, and inside bracket we have expected frequency. Okay, so you see here 250 male and 200 female, so total 400 in this column. Similarly, 50 plus 1000, 1050, and column wise total we also have. Okay, 250 plus 50, 300, and here we have sum. So this should be 1500. This should also be 1500. And the expected frequency, it has been calculated here separately. You can see E11, okay, count male and count fiction, okay, and it is joint event. Uh, so this is the count. It will come 90. So expected frequency male fiction 90. Similarly, expected frequency for male non-fiction, it will be 210. It is written in the bracket. Similarly, for third one, it is 360. Okay, for female and fiction, and this is for female and non-fiction. It is 840. Okay, so we have the data, all the count. Now we have to compute this x square. So we have x square and the difference between the expected and observed values, and divided by. So we have this much calculation. And it will come out this value. Okay. For this table 2 by 2 table, the degree of freedom is 2 minus 1, 2 minus 1 equal to 1. So now I read this one. So in this formula, what is n, what is a, what is b, and here where n is the number of data tuples, count a equal to ai is the number of tuples having the value ai for a, and count b equal to bj is the number of tuples having the value bj for b. The sum is equation 3.1 is computed overall for R by C cells. Okay. Note that the cells that contribute the most to x square value are those for which the actual count is very different from the expected count. So the x square statistic test, actually how we conduct this test, we have the hypothesis first we declare and we test, verify the hypothesis is true or false. So x square statistic tests the hypothesis that a and b are independent, that is there is no correlation between them. The test is based on a significance level with r minus 1 multiplied by c minus 1 degree of freedom. This is a new term, r minus 1 c minus 1 degree of freedom. Okay. We illustrate the use of this statistic in example 3.1. The hypothesis can be rejected. Then we say A and B are statistically correlated. Okay. So this was the experiment, and here we come. For this 2 by 2 table, degree of freedom is 2 minus 1, and 2 minus 1 equal to 1. For 1 degree of freedom, x square value needed to reject the hypothesis, this value. The significance level, this much. Actually, there is a plot that I will show you, taken from the upper percentage of the x square distribution typically available from any textbook of the statistics. Since our computed value is above this, we can reject the hypothesis that the gender preferred readings are independent and conclude that the two attributes are strongly correlated. Okay. So this is the graph, and for detailed understanding, you have to consult the literature of statistics. And here you see chi-square distribution showing x square x-axis, this p-value on y-axis, and this is another graph, probability density function. In probability theory, and statistics, the chi-square distribution with k degree of freedom is the distribution of sum of the squares of k independent standard normal random variables. The chi-square distribution is a special case of gamma distribution and is one of the most widely used probability distribution in inferential statistics, notably in hypothesis testing or in construction of confidence interval. So this is somewhat detailed. Value k equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so for k equal to color coding has been shown. So the value will computed based on that we decide. After this we have correlation coefficient. When the attributes are numerical, then the method of knowing the correlation between the attributes is coefficient, correlation coefficient. So for numeric attributes, we can evaluate the correlation between two attributes, A and B, by computing correlation coefficient. For numeric attributes, we can evaluate the correlation between two attributes A and B by computing the correlation coefficient, also known as Pearson product Pullman coefficient. Okay, so it was named after the person who invented Carl Pearson. So this is the formula. So here I1 to n and I1 to n. So this value is basically, it is a mean value A bar, B bar. Okay, the difference of the values with or compared to the mean values and product is computed and sum is calculated, and this where n is the number of the triples ai, bi are the respective values of a and b in the triple I. A bar and B bar are the respective mean values of A and B, and this is for notation standard deviation, sigma or eta exactly, I don't remember this notation. So A and B, respective standard deviation of A and B. And this sigma A to B is the sum of AB cross product for each tuple, the value for A multiplied by the value of B in that. So whether the two attributes are positively correlated or negatively correlated, it will depend on the value comes to RAB, this formula, it will give the value. So it will belong to -1 to 1, and it is easy to understand if we have the graph representation. Okay, so this is the graph representation. So visually we see here, you see from -1, this is for -0.9, and we continue to move from left to right, and in next row we have -3, -2, and this is 0. Then 0.1, 0.2 positive values, okay, 0.3, and in this last row we have from 0.4, 0.5 up to 1 point. So you see here, this is a line that has angle of 45, okay, and we go on rotating this line. So it is rotated vertically. First it take, you see here, and at 0, 0, it is almost 90-degree type situation, and then it go on inclined, okay, and when it takes the value 1.00, then it is become 45. So this is 45 degree, positive y equal to mx plus c. So m tan theta, it is 45 and it is tan 135. Okay. I don't remember. If I am correct, equation of straight line is y equal to mx plus c. M is the angle. So here you see this angle 45, and we go, so minus 45 to, we can say we are moving toward plus 45. So one is the negatively correlated, other is the positively correlated. So positive correlated means when we increase value of one attribute, when we uh, when we increase the value of one attribute, the other value attribute also go on increasing. Okay, and if we increase one value of one attribute, then other value go on decreasing, then it is negatively correlated. So note that the correlation does not imply causality. One thing, this is important. This kind of analysis, you say, it is not, it does not make any causal relationship between two attributes. It is not giving you, so it is not scientific, you can also say. The correlation does not imply causality, that is A and B are correlated. There, this is not necessarily imply that B causes A or that B causes A. This does not necessarily imply that A causes B or that B causes A. For example, analyzing demographic database, we may find that attributes representing the number of hospitals and the number of car thefts in the region are correlated. This does not mean that one causes the other. Both are actually causally linked to third attribute, namely population. So this thing you keep in mind. Covariance of numeric data in probability theory and statistics, correlation and covariance are two similar measures for assessing how much two attributes change together. Consider two numeric attributes A and B and a set of n observations. The mean values of A and B respectively are also known as expected values on A and B. That is, the covariance between A and B is defined as, this is the formula, and the correlation coefficient, okay, and the standard deviation are, A and B are the standard deviation for A and B. It can also be shown by this. One numerical example is, this example is also given in the book. So stock price of the all electronics high tech. The previous example of x square psi test is also given in the textbook, so you can also see there. We present a simplified example. Stock prices of the 5 times points for all electronics and high tech company. If the stocks are affected by the same industry trends, will their price rise or fall together? So it will depend whether the relationship, that is covariance, one is varying, other is also varying, type situation is there. So this is the electronics. Okay. and this is for High-Tech, another company. So covariance between these two is computed here. It is coming out 7. Therefore, given positive covariance, we can say the stock prices of both company rise together. So one is rising, other is also rising. Triple duplication. In addition to detecting redundancies between attributes, duplication should also be detected at the triple level, where there are two or more identical triples for a given unique data entry case. The use of denormalized table, often done to improve performance by avoiding joins, is another source of data redundancy. Inconsistencies often arise between various duplicates due to inaccurate data entry or updating some but not all data occurrences. For example, if purchase order database contains attribute for the purchaser's name and address instead of the key of this information in purchaser database, discrepancies can occur, such as same purchaser's name appearing with different addresses within the purchase order database. Data value conflict detection and resolving. Here is if conflict of values be observed, then how to resolve it. So data integration also involve detection and resolution of data value conflicts. For example, for the same real world entity, attribute value from different sources may differ. This may be due to differences in representation, scaling, and encoding. For instance, a weight attribute may be stored in metric unit in one system and British imperial unit in another. For a hotel chain, the price of room in different cities may involve not only different currencies but also different services. For example, the hotel charge may include free breakfast, or whether tax will be separately applicable, or it includes the charges include tax or not. So this information have to be resolved in integrating databases. When exchanging information from between schools, for example, each school may have its own curriculum and grading system or grading scheme. For example, if you pass out from one university, you have 90% marks, and other student who pass from another university has 70% marks. Now, in first observation, say 90% is more than the 70%. Second, if we go to the system by which they do the evaluation process, and without knowing the or without understanding the evaluation process, one cannot say this 70% marks have same weight or less weight or equal weight or more weight or 90% has equal or more. So quantitative equivalence is different from the worth equivalence. Okay, value equivalence. So here, when exchanging information between schools, for example, each school may have its own curriculum and grading system. One university may adopt water system, offer three courses on database system, and assign grade A to C, A and C to F. Whereas another may adopt a semester system, offer two courses on database, and assigns grade between 1 to 10. So that kind of equivalence, generally when you take a degree from one country and if you go for job in another country, so that country will assess your degree based on so and so kind of parameter or so and so kind of equivalence. Okay, so simply quantity or equivalence does not make sense here. So attributes may also differ on abstraction level, where an attribute in one system is recorded at, say, lower abstraction level than the same attribute in another. Okay. So at what level of detail we are considering? For example, total sale in one database may refer one branch of all electronics, while an attribute of the same name in another database may refer the total sale for all electronics in a given region. So total sale attribute in two databases is present, and both may have different kind of interpretation. One is referring the total sale of so and so uh, branches of the district, and other may have all the branches of a state like. Data reduction is a very big subject, and it includes so many kind of transformation used in other disciplines, particularly in mathematics. Okay, so those kind of transformation may be useful here to reduce the data. So data analysis and mining on huge amount of data can take a long time, making such analysis impractical or infeasible. Because here we have very large size of data. And if suppose algorithm of mining algorithm is taking, suppose total time algorithm takes 500 years, then what is the meaning of that knowledge? Because 500 years is very big time. If we consider our life period is not even 70, 80 years. So the question is that how much time the algorithm should take so that the knowledge discovered by mining process could be used or it could be relevant. Okay, so data reduction techniques can be applied to obtain a reduced representation of the data set that is much smaller in volume, yet closely maintain the integrity of the original data. As I told earlier that when we say that smaller size we should use for mining, then major question is that this smaller data size is still representing the same information as the big data size has. So the originality is maintained, and if there is a loss, then how much loss of information is there? Okay. So yet closely maintains the integrity of the original data. That is the mining of the reduced data set should be more efficient yet produce the same or almost the same analytical result. In election, you see many companies conduct the survey, okay, and they take a sample of data of different regions, of different community, or different profession, voter, different age group. So, how much data they should take, and how good the smaller sample is representing the large population or not. So this will ensure the prediction. Otherwise, the prediction will not be as it is expected. So all these are very important issues. Observation of data reduction strategies. Data reduction strategies include dimensionality reduction, numerosity reduction, and data compression. Dimensionality reduction means we reduce the number of dimensions. If some dimensions could be ignored or unnecessary or relevant or not relevant. Numerosity reduction, the large volume of data, okay, and compression, how we can further uh, reduce. So compression techniques you will see in literature. So dimensionality reduction is the process of reducing number of random variable or attributes under consideration. Dimensionality reduction methods include wavelet transformation, principal component analysis, which transform or project the original data onto a smaller space. Attribute subset selection is a method of dimensionality reduction in which irrelevant, weakly relevant, or redundant attributes or dimensions are deleted or removed. Numerosity reduction techniques replace the original data volume by alternative smaller form of data representation. These techniques may be parametric and non-parametric. For parametric methods, a model is used to estimate the data so that typically only the data parameters need to be sorted. So instead of the actual data. So outliers may also be stored. Regression and this there may be mistake logarithmic or non log linear models. This need to be this require correction. Regression and log linear models are example. I don't remember it is correct. So you can check. I will also check it later. Non-parametric methods for storing reduced representation of the data include histograms, clustering, sampling, and data cube aggregation. Data compression. In data compression, transformations are applied so as to obtain a reduced compressed representation of the original data. If the original data can be reconstructed from the compressed data without any information loss, the data reduction is called lossless. If instead we can reconstruct only an approximation of the original data, then data reduction is called lossy. There are several lossless algorithms for string compression. However, they typically allow only limited data manipulation. Dimensionality reduction and numerosity reduction techniques can also be considered forms of data compression. There are many other ways of organizing methods of data reduction. The computational time spent on data reduction should not outweigh or erase the time saved by mining on the reduced data size. Actually, data reduction is very big subject, so it is not possible to cover all the things in this class because other relevant and useful topics we have. So I advise at least you should go with the names of all those transformations and some understanding of these transformation. So I have included here the slides and you can go through the slides and actually the slides will only for a brief understanding. It does not give you complete. So book is necessary. So just I show you few dimensionality reduction. Okay, cause of dimension, dimensionality reduction, and dimensionality reduction techniques. We have very large number of dimensions. Okay, So if we consider all the dimensions in mining, then it becomes very difficult exercise. So we have to avoid some dimensions that does not make too much effect or impact on the mining. So it is written, eliminate irrelevant features and reduce noise. So three names are here: wavelet transform, principal component analysis. This principal component analysis is used very much. So provide non-linear techniques. Fourier transform and wavelet transform. In mathematics, Fourier transform is taught, but you have to conceptualize. Wavelet decomposition. Principal component analysis. Multiple log linear. Log linear ही है. It is correct written. Log linear model approximate discrete multi-dimensional probability distribution. Estimate the probability of each point tuple in a multi-dimensional space for a set of these discretized attributes based on a smaller subset of dimensional combinations. Useful for dimensionality reduction and data smoothing. Histogram analysis, clustering, type of sampling. In addition to this, I also wanted to cover one chapter. Basically, it is not given as one chapter, but some data visualization techniques. Okay. It is given in chapter number 2. So one relevant paper that I downloaded yesterday, and that paper will help you in understanding data visualization. So I show you that paper so that you some explanation I shall give you, and the rest of the explanation you try to understand from the paper. Paper is very small. Okay. This is the paper. Okay. So here I shall give you brief explanation. Pixel-oriented visualization techniques map each attribute value of the data to a single colored pixel, yielding the display of the most possible information at a time. Basic principle is that the data value is represented corresponding to a color of pixel. Okay, depending on, so generally more value represented by dark color, and smaller value is represented by light color. The The pixel-oriented techniques maintain the global view of large amount of data while still preserving the perception of a small region of interest. This property makes them suitable for variety of data mining tasks. First, we present pixel-oriented visualization techniques, which can be used as a standalone exploration tool. Then we show how they can be tightly integrated into data mining methods, unifying the strength of existing algorithms and human involvement. Finally, we point out the idea of similarity clustering of attribute to enhance the multidimensional visualization. So you see here, then this kind of exercise is done. And here it is shown one example. And in this example, the four, this is the stock price of these four companies here, Dow Jones, Gold, IBM, and US dollar, are depicted by almost 7 consecutive years in vertical bar correspond to 7 years, and the subdivision of bar 12 months. So here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the representation here they are considering 7 years data, one in each strip, and horizontally it has we have 12 strips, and each strip is for 1 month. Okay, so this data is being represented here 7 levels, so each for 1 year, and here 12 levels it is also written, so one for each month. So if we take any one, then it will be data represented by one this box, small region of one specific year and of one specific month. So in figure 2, stock prices of Dow Jones, Gold, IBM, and US dollar are depicted for almost 7 consecutive years. The 7 vertical bars correspond to 7 years, level 3 pattern, and the subdivision of each of the bars of 12 months within each year, level 2 pattern. The coloring map high attribute value stock prices to light color and low attribute values stock prices to dark color. Here they have used the notation less value dark color and more value of stock price light color. Okay, light color, high value attribute value to light color. Okay, and low attribute value of stock with dark color. The user may, for example, easily see the gold price was very low in the 5th year of the IBM, quickly fell after the first 1.5 months. So this kind of information you can observe here. Find the gold price very low in the 5th year. Okay, you see gold. So here this is gold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So very dark color and it is for low price. Okay, so this is showing in 5th year the price was very low. Similarly, IBM price quickly fell after first 1.5 months. So for IBM price, you see in the first 1.5 month, you see this is IBM. So you see here first month and first and a half month. He is saying the price immediately fell. So this was light color and this is the dark color referring less or a small value of the attribute, dark color. The US dollar exchange rate was highest in the 8th month of the 2nd year. So 2nd year of US dollar, this is the 2nd year, and it is saying was highest in the 8th month. So you see 8th month 1, 2, 3 for it is for US dollar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is light green. So here it is showing higher or highest. Out of this all strip we have this much. So this was the recursive pattern we that is used here, and it is written. The recursive pattern technique is based on the back and forth arrangement. The recursive base element is a pattern of height S1 and width W1 as specified by user. Okay. First, the element of the pattern corresponds to a single pixel which is arranged within a rectangle of height h and width W1 from left to right. And then below, and then below backward from right to left, and then again forward left to right, and so on. So this is the pattern, uh, left to right, and below left, right to left. So in this way the pattern, so repeatedly, recursively. For circle segment technique, this actually pixel pixel oriented visualization techniques. It is several techniques are there. Okay, visualization based. And in this paper, only few techniques which are representative. That means they represent. Suppose there are 10 techniques based on one principle, and out of those, this one technique is represents all those 10 techniques. So they are called representative techniques like that. So this is another way. Here you see this is showing you there are 8 attributes. Okay, so region has been divided in this way, and you see here from center to outward, and the attribute values. So one circle will represent one record or one tuple, and here each attribute value has different color based on its magnitude or value. So this is shown here. The circle segment has been proposed by for visualizing large high-dimensional data set. High dimensional when there are many dimensions. So here 8 dimensions have been shown. The idea is not to represent different attributes. Here you see we have one record, and in one record, suppose we have 4 attributes, and one record of one tuple. So for each attribute, we have one window. Okay, for each attribute, we have one window. For example, here for price of each company. Okay, the one window has been used here. In book, one example is given, and there is a tuple that has four attributes. So four individual windows are used to represent. So that example is different from this one. And here, the idea is not to represent different attributes in sub-windows anymore. Instead, the whole dataset is represented by a circle which is divided into segments, one for each attribute. Within the segment, each attribute value is again visualized by a single color pixel. The arrangement of the pixel starts from the center of the circle and continues to the outside by plotting on the line orthogonal to the segment having line in the in a back and forth manner. Okay. The rationale of this approach is that close the center, all the attributes close to each other, enriching visual comparison. So in this way, the visual mode effectively can be used to have some uh, idea of the relationship between the attributes in a very less amount of time by just observation. Okay. So several such techniques have been used. Optics with the circle segment techniques visualizing 30,000 of record here, 17 dimensional object. You see here 17 dimensions attribute 1 to 3 and records are like 30,000 objects are represented here. Okay, so one can have some idea of the based on the values. Similarity arrangement of the attribute for classification. So based on some kind of similarity, we can rearrange and they can be used for classification also. So this paper is somewhat one of the original work and other to understand further if you face any difficulty in understanding this paper and maybe so then you have to go any one of the references here. So just to give you a brief idea about this visualization I have discussed. Okay. So depending on the time, we will discuss some other relevant of this data. And I stop here and data chapter that covered here, I think it is sufficient. And because the literature of data mining is very vast. Okay. So just to give you a brief idea of data reduction that includes so many kind of transformation used in other discipline. Okay. So thank you. I stop here.